Amy, and welcome to day 5 of the Booktube-a-thon. And today's challenge was something that I just was really excited about, and so I couldn't let Mr. Potato Head have all the fun. And so I've decided to do the challenge for today. And as you can see, if you can see him over my shoulder, he's still wearing his Legolas cosplay, and he's really sad. If he had angry eyes, he'd be wearing them, but we don't know angry eyes. But he's pretty sad because he loves doing the challenges, but I couldn't let him do all the fun. So today's challenge is to have a topic that would be a class. And with that class, what would the reading list be for that? And so the topic that I have chosen is travel. And not just like travel in the actual physical sense, but maybe in a more emotional journey type of travel, and how different types of travel can have an effect on who we are. And so I'm really excited about the books I've chosen, so let's just dive into the 10 books I've chosen for this class. You have 10 books. That sounds like a lot, but I had one class in college that I had to read 16 in a semester, so it's fine. Okay, so the first book that I chose for this reading list is Amy and Roger's Epic Detour, and this is just obvious because Amy and Roger go on a road trip across the United States. And it is about them crossing the United States, going from California to the East Coast, but there's so much more to the story, and so I chose this one because, you know, even in the midst of a road trip, even in the midst of being on the road, you are going to encounter things about yourself that you didn't realize. The second book on this list is a classic book, and that is The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. And the reason why I put this book on here is that you follow this one family who puts all of the stuff that they have in this one vehicle, and they are traveling to California in hopes of starting over, of hopes of a better life in the midst of the Great Depression and all that they encounter on the way. And sometimes travel is not a sense of adventure, but a means to an end, and that there's no other choice but to get in your car and travel. The third book that is on this reading list for the travel class is Walk on Earth, A Stranger by Ray Carson. And this is a book about this girl who, yes, she does have this fantastical ability of sensing gold, but a lot of the book is her journey across the United States on the Oregon Trail. She's in a covered wagon. For this one, the reason why I chose this one is because the reason why she goes on her journey is to escape something that is terrifying. And so sometimes your travels aren't just about, you know, something that's happy, but it's also about escaping something. And what do you learn in the midst of an escape? The next book that I chose, we are going to get outside of the United States and actually outside of the Earth, and that is The Martian by Andy Weir. Not only did Mark have to deal with the fact that he traveled from Earth to Mars, but then he is accidentally left on Mars, and he has to travel around Mars to be able to survive and to hopefully be rescued. And what it takes to do this, you know, this journey by yourself and traveling across a planet that's never been traveled across before by human. The next book that I chose is a memoir / nonfiction book, and that is Through Pain and Deserts by Donald Miller. Most of his books actually do center around some kind of journey, but this one in particular is my favorite, and it's his journey of going from Texas to Oregon or Washington, and really it centers a lot around the Grand Canyon and his journey of hiking down into the Grand Canyon and hiking out, and his experiences along the way of finding himself, of finding different things. And so sometimes you have to go on a journey in order to find things that you didn't realize that you had lost. The next book that I chose, this is kind of a different take on travel, and the book I chose is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. And the reason why I chose this is that I think it's important to show that travel doesn't always have to be physical. It could also be an imagination, and that even in an imaginative world, it can impact your real world. The next book that I chose is 1,000 Pieces of You by Claudia Gray. This book is about traveling to different dimensions and how just one act can really alter your life, and not just something that you did, but something that someone else did can affect your life. And as we follow Marguerite into these other dimensions, how her life is completely different, or just the outside of things look a little bit different. And so I think it's a great take on that our choices matter, and even our smallest choice matters, and how seeing how different choices affect your life can impact your life in the here and now. The next two books that I chose kind of go together, and in that you don't necessarily have to be the one that is traveling, but sometimes it's about the objects that are traveling, and one of those is the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. This is the second book. I don't actually own the first one, and I would put the first one on the reading list, but this is about this pair of pants that travels among these four friends, and how these pants bring these girls together, and how it helps them encounter different things and in different ways. And it's an interesting take on how an object can impact your life. And then the other book that is about objects is The Things They Carried, and this follows several men while they're in World War II and the things they carried, and how these objects either got them through the war or remind them about the war. And then the last book on this reading list, I mean, I couldn't talk about travel without talking about the Doctor. And I mean, he's, you know, the ultimate traveling among time and space. So a graphic novel about the Doctor and his tales of traveling around the world and around time and around space. I mean, come on. It's the ultimate travel book. So I thought a graphic novel would be fun. So that is the reading course for my travel class. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I would take this class if it was available, because I think it would be an interesting take on different ways to travel. So that wraps up challenge number 5. Really sorry, Mr. Potato Head. Hope you forgive me. It's okay. You'll be back tomorrow.